issue is kind of interesting is it doesn't come up very much at many of these meetings. I'm Bill France from Riga. And my question is just exactly to what two commissioners, now three, have already brought up, is that once these units are in operation, and you have them to sell, and I'm not sure how high that is, but maybe I'll tell what the hut height is on the city, but let's say it's 300 feet in the air. That's a confined space by my experience in the construction industry, once you get inside that to do maintenance. And the gentleman here says that the people on the ground will handle those issues if something happens. They don't need the fire department. Are they trained in confined space rescue? And then again, are they trained in confined space rescue at that height? Very difficult situation. Even in a manhole in the street, it's a difficult thing. Now you're 300 feet up in the air. And if they say, well, we'll give the fire department training, well, the fire department has to be careful, because if the fire department is going to designate themselves as a confined space rescue unit, then they have a whole bunch of things that they have to put in place, and a lot of that involves money and training and personnel. And so I'm glad to see the township is at least looking at those issues to see that this is an issue that can't be handled just by anybody standing on the ground, a group of 10 guys saying, well, if someone gets sick up inside this thing, maybe way back inside one of the gears where they're working on them, how do you get that person out? Maybe it's never happened before, but I wouldn't want to be the fire chief in Palmyra when it happens and just stand there smoking a cigar. Thank you.
Yeah, quick. Just real quickly on the fire issue. One of the things the IICC advocates is for an automated fire suppression system to be installed on these turbines, because at that height, once they start, no fire department in the area has the ability to put out a fire 300 feet in the air. And when that question was posed to Mr. Dumering, who is a member of Exelon, the partner of Great Lakes Wind in this development, Mr. Dumering's statement was you just stand back and let them burn out, kind of like a candle. Now these things have over 200 gallons of oil inside of them. So you're going to stand back and watch them burn out with toxic fumes being spread across your township for quite a while. It's going to take a minute or two for them to burn out.
I know there's been a site plan submitted, and the question is, and this is more of a business question, if that site plan is submitted and we don't agree, I come back to the issue of negotiability. I mean, it's got to be a good neighbor kind of arrangement. And at some point we have to talk about business here, in my opinion. And if this particular plan does not meet the needs of this township, how do we arrive at a friendly neighbor arrangement? And can we?
The site plan will not come about or won't start until your setbacks and regulations are put in place.
So if we set those,
then we can do a site plan, and in like the map with the 75 or 85 turbines on it, that's no site plan. That was just something that was put there. Those are no definite numbers at all.
I guess my
Today,
question,
they
Jeff,
mean
is
nothing.
if we set a mile setback, are you going to be here talking to us?
No.
That's my question.
No, that's exclusionary, the same as a half a mile is, because if you go a half a mile from any resident, that puts you, if there's 4 residents around that 4-mile stretch, that eliminates it.
Unless you pay those residents.
I know, but I wanted to have.
I could share the rationale of the RIG ordinance. We set it a half mile for non-participants with the option for the developer to acquire by a waiver a reduction of that from a half mile to a quarter. Thereby nobody would have to live closer to a half mile than no non-participants would against their will. They still scream that's exclusionary, but the MTA training we took was that if you can demonstrate that a particular use cannot be safely performed in your township due to the density of the housing or what have you, you don't have to permit it if it can't be safely performed. Now, there's a growing body of evidence that what they propose as industry standards, in fact, are not safe. There's a couple court cases that I can talk about in another month that we're not quite ready to prepare the detail, or release the details on, that will demonstrate that with clarity. But if you go to the internet and Google British wind regulations, the government in England has just completed a study where they're recommending separating turbines 10 rotor diameters from homes to reduce impacts from noise and shadow flicker. Now, they got a lot of them in England, but here that would be a 3,300-foot setback. They're proposing 1320 here, yet Mr. Doomerang, who's Canadian, would have to honor an 1,800-foot setback in Ontario and 40 decibel nighttime noise limits if he were building in his native land, yet proposes 45 and 1320 here. You guys are on the right wavelength. Small setbacks are designed as an economic accommodation to the developer's bottom line. And our number one job on Planning Commission was always to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the people above all.
Thank you. Anything else here? Gary, you want to comment on this training?
I got an email from MTA. It's a half-day training. The closest one is in Lansing. April 20th in Lansing, there's like 3 more around the state. This is a Wednesday, it's an afternoon. Subject is introduction to planning and training. The expense will be covered by the township.